The service value chain. By now you all would have got an idea that service value chain sits at the center of the ITIL service value system, a model representing how all the components and activities of an organization work together to facilitate value creation. In this module, we will see what exactly the service value chain is. The central element of service value system is the service value chain, an operating model which outlines the key activities required to respond to demand and facilitate value realization through the creation and management of product and services. The ITIL service value chain applies to every part of IT operations or those other business functions also. The service value chain applies to run the business activities. These activities allow the IT status quo to function, right? Normally we call this BAU, business as usual, like what is commonly called as keeping the lights on. That's the run part of the business activity. Change the business activities, which includes both growth through innovation and transformation. These direct activities either improve existing service or bring in new ones. So the whole idea of service value system is how are we going to address the silo way of working and make sure that everyone collaborates effectively and the demand is converted to a product or services. As defined earlier, service value chain is the central element of SVS, an operating model which outlines the key activities required to respond to demand and facilitate value creation through the creation and management of product and services. This operating model has 6 value chain activities or steps that an organization might take when creating value. Those key activities are, the 6 key activities which we are talking about are plan, engage, design and transition, obtain or build, deliver and support, and the last one being improve, right? These are the 6 key activities, and it's not necessary you have to engage or you have to go through all these 6 key activities to convert a demand into value. There are different routes depending upon what are we trying to achieve, right? Based on that, we will be using either few activities or some of the activities or all the activities. Let's take a quick example. For your organization, you have realized that there is a demand to have a new online shopping service which needs to be put together. First, we need to engage or we need to understand what the customer and sponsors needs are. So we should use the engage activity. So you are able to see, like, simple, right? What we do is we have a new service, customer comes and says that I want an online shopping service, right? Online shopping portal. So what you do is first you engage. The first activity which we are talking about is we engage with the customers, right? While engaging with the customers, right, all these activities which you are talking about will also use practices. Later in the module or the training sessions, we will be seeing what are these practices, right? ITIL talks about these 34 practices. How effectively are we going to use these practices? So in the case of engage, what are we going to do is we are going to engage with the right set of stakeholders. To engage with the right set of stakeholders, one of the practice which we will be using is relationship management. That will be getting involved to find out exactly what is the customer and sponsor needs. From engage, it might go to plan. What will happen in plan? Like what normally you do, like you have understood the requirement. Once you have understood the requirement, you want to go and start planning for that. Well, there are things like portfolio management, architecture management, project management, finance management, risk management. These are some of the practices which may get involved to put together a plan or a business case for the new service. That might well then go back to engage in relationship management and talk to the sponsor or talk to the customer to say that, is this what you want? and customer says yes, it is. So what it is, it gets approved. So you might have seen we started with engage, we went back to plan. After going back to plan, we have come back to engage, right? And once the plan is approved, right? Once the plan is approved, we will move into the next phase of design and transition. Once again, design and transition is the place where we will consider what are the key factors for the designing, right? Low level design, high level design, functional design, all these are things. And apart from that, we will also consider like what is the capacity management needed, or what is the availability management needed, right? Business analysis. So these are some of the practices which will get involved. There is a whole lot of activities which is going to get involved from a design and transition perspective. Once we have understood from a design and transition, we are coming up, like it could be a blueprint which we come up with. Once we come up with that, like what is the next step? What are we going to do? We will design, or the organization or the service provider will design whether we need to go for obtain and build. Right? That's the next activity which we are going to talk about. And very clear, obtain. Obtain is we don't have these capabilities. We have to get it from someone else. Right? That's what obtain is going to be. Otherwise, it's going to be built. We have the capabilities. We can, like, we have all the resources. We have all the capabilities. We can build this on within our organization itself. Right? That's where it goes in and it starts working on that. Right? That's where we take into consideration whether we need to do all these internally or externally. So as you can see, what we do for each activity and each demand is we use the value chain to go through and find out how to get from actually having and from end to end focus on that, like making sure that we have got what the demand that the customer wants, the opportunities that what we need to fulfill, and make sure that we are delivering the value. So service value chain helps us to decide what the route is through the value chain and which of the practices actually support the different elements of the value chain. Let's take some time to understand each of the values. Each of the key activities which we have been talking about, the 6 activities which we have been talking about. Before we take a closer look at them, it's relevant to say that all activities are interconnected and each one of them transform inputs into output. And these inputs can be either demand from outside the value chain or output of other activities.